When we take a conscious breath in a natural way, we connect to our being, how we came to the world. And just have the picture. Everyone is born, and in that moment, nobody can move, nobody can walk, nobody can talk. So in this state, we are equal.
Today's guest is my dear friend, Wolfgang Steiner, a natural conscious breath educator and facilitator whose life journey is truly inspiring. From working as an engineer in Europe's largest hospital to discovering the transformative power of breath, he now guides people worldwide to connect deeply with themselves and with humanity through conscious breathing. Welcome, Wolfgang.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the nice introduction.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. So, Wolfgang, to start us off, what is one of the most courageous things that you have done?
Well, there's various things which I did in my life. First of all, I'm married. That is a very courageous thing to approach a woman. It's the most beautiful thing, but it's also the most courageous thing, in my opinion. I felt it that way, and it's really beautiful when then there is a yes for the marriage. So, it is something big and also something very committing for life. So this is something having a lot of impact. So for me, courageous things is what has an impact. Some things don't matter, then
Yeah.
it doesn't need courage. You do something, it doesn't matter if it's yes, no, if it happens. Another courageous thing what happened was when I went to Mumbai, knowing to go to the ultimate experience, which was an event 3 years ago, and I knew I needed to go there, and there was all the hurdles along the path you possibly could have, including that I didn't have an airplane ticket at the airport for various reasons. So I bought my airplane ticket on the airport. And that is certainly something what I would have never done before, because it's certainly much more expensive. There is other possibilities to go back home. So to make this step forward because of commitment was certainly one of the biggest courageous things I ever did.
Wow, how courageous is that? I mean, turning up at an airport, maybe there wasn't even a seat left.
Well, that was the interesting thing. I bought an airplane ticket, but however, it was the day before I actually left. And however, it turned up that in the booking system, a plane ticket exactly a month later, and not only that, it was in February, which has 28 days. So a month later was exactly the same day and the same number of day. Otherwise, I would have recognized. I was looking for Thursday, the 15th of February, and it occurred Thursday, the 15th, but it was not really visible that it was March. So I really would have to search. So I booked a plane ticket going on the airport and realizing on the airport, sir, you're not on the list. And I said, come on, what means I'm not on the list? I bought my ticket yesterday. I had the printouts, I had my app, I had everything. It did not occur to me that it was the wrong month.
Oh,
And
wow.
there the lady said, sir, you have a plane in a month. And that is what was really a very interesting situation. It was like, okay, what now? And it was 1 hour, 20 minutes before takeoff. So it was not like, let's have a look and let's have a little discussion and 10 coffees. It was like, what now? Because I needed to go on this plane and figuring out if there is actually a seat available on the plane. And that was the lucky thing, that there was a seat available in the plane 1 hour, 15 minutes from now. And then it was the process of, do I go? Do I go back home? do I have the money on the account to purchase? So it was a very interesting but very liberating. I think the most courageous things also have the most liberating result. When we
Wow.
go through this scary, really frightening thing, afterwards it feels like, wow. And it was really life changing for me.
Mhm. Absolutely. I can't imagine. And that was one important event. Absolutely. You've had an extraordinary journey from communications engineer to managing Europe's largest hospital. Can you share a bit about that life and what drew you to that work?
Okay, well, I'm a communication engineer by my technical school training, and after that, I was dreaming about working at Hewlett Packard, and that was an own event. I have a elder brother, and when I was about 12 years old or 11, my brother brought a brochure about a handheld calculator. That was 1983 or something like that. So a handheld calculator was something because there was no PCs, there was no tablet PC, there was no mobile phones. So he brought back home a brochure, and I really was feeling that engineering quality. And I felt instantly attracted to this company. And
Mhm.
when I actually finished technical high school, I had a job at the company Siemens, and I had one thing occurring was like, do I go now to play it safe or do I go for my dream? And I wrote an application to HP, and they invited me for an interview while I figured out it was all about university uh, graduates, boot camp. There was a ton of things. So I was the least qualified person actually. And I had this interview, and there was some circumstances which came together, and I became the youngest engineer in the company. And having that said, I started in computer department, being a support engineer, going to San Francisco to the factory, having some couple of months of prototype support work there. It was exciting. It was really exciting. And then came the 90s, and I changed to the medical department,
Mm.
as it was that it started the time of of patient care systems.
Mhm.
So it was the first time that computers actually were installed in the intensive care unit and in the surgery area for patient data management. So the medical department was actually looking for somebody who is fond of computers. And I was ready to leave the computer department.
Mhm.
And I joined the medical department. And it happened that this customer, this hospital, was a brand new general hospital in Vienna, which was back then, 10,000 people working there. I don't know, 3,000 beds,
Mhm.
hundreds of surgery units. So it was back then the biggest hospital in Europe. And I started working there, installing the computer system with a team of people. We enrolled and trained and practically implemented this first patient data management system. Certainly in Austria, I think also in Europe it was pretty one of the first installations, at least in this capacity, in this size.
Mhm.
Well, and what happened was I was in this customer care in this environment for all the systems. I stepped up being the account manager for this hospital and management in Hewlett Packard. And in the 90s happened one thing. Outsourcing took place. Companies started to think about what is their core competence.
Mhm.
and what is it possibly to outsource to partners. And I was also significantly involved into this endeavor. And it happened that actually at the end of the 90s, I felt there was a kind of identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
There was the internet bubble, when you remember.
Yes, yes.
I experienced it a lot about overselling. There was a lot of possibilities, but it was a kind of more than good.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt in one moment I had to leave the company. The good thing back then was as I shared, I was in my personal favorite of any company. So it was not about going out of that company and looking for another company. That was just crystal clear that it was not
Mm-hmm.
about another company would be better. You know, some people have this illusion. You leave a company, you go to another company, you possibly have another job, possibly more income. And for a couple of months, a couple of years, you're happy. But at one moment, you figure out somehow it's the same again.
Yeah.
And out of that situation, I really went on a journey by leaving that company with no other job. Literally, the question was, what is it in life? What could possibly fulfill me? And I did not have an answer. So
Mm.
it was really like jumping out of the boat into the water and having a look. Is there a tree somewhere? Or what is it where I'm landing? Literally jumping in the water, not knowing, would I ever land again somewhere?
Mm.
Because as I said, it was not about taking any tree. This this was crystal clear.
Yeah.
And it happened that miraculously I was guided to meditation, to breathing, and at one point a friend of mine shared with me there is something like breath work. It was in 2002 and I had no idea that what breath work is, that exists. And so I went on a journey and was guided from one person to another person directly in the educational training, which I started at the beginning of 2002. And here we go. The journey started.
Yes, because that was the point. At some point, in your life, we do take a look at ourselves and what do we really want. And that was your point, because your meditation and breathing led you to a breakthrough that shifted your life completely. Can you tell me more about how that happened and your experience changing your path?
When I was in this company, one day I was driving back and I felt terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I literally felt terrible. I would say back then it was a burnout or boring out, something like that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, these were no names back then. I just felt something that I didn't feel good having all the material possessions, a company car, notebooks at the time when nobody had a notebook.
Mm-hmm.
Mobile phones were already coming, but it was not like everybody had a mobile phone. So it was a kind of, we had everything what somebody would possibly dream of. That was
Yes.
our reality. And even having that reality, not feeling fulfilled, was a kind of, okay, what is missing? And I was lucky that in the company was one colleague's wife was giving massages. And that was in the 90s. When you didn't feel good, you went for a massage or
Yeah.
you went for a spa weekend. So I went to the company and said, I really don't feel good. I need help. That was maybe one of the core things. I said, I I accept help. So I
Mm-hmm.
went to this lady and said, help me. Do something with me, help me. And so she really started. We had a couple of weekly appointments and she was the same. She had all the skills in massaging. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't need to go for that massage there and that massage. She was making from foot reflex to standard, sport, Thai. So she made all the massages. And after a while, a couple of weeks, she told me, Wolfgang, I can't help you. You have to help yourself. And she referred me to something what is a special meditation, an active morning meditation, very emotional, which is from Osho, which was an Indian guru. And one of his disciples lived in Vienna, and he offered this dynamic morning meditation. And I did not look what it is, and it was good, because if I would have known what it is, I wouldn't have gone there.
Yeah.
So she referred me, and I simply said, if she refers me, if she recommends it, I'm not asking twice. I'm just going there, and I go for it. And there I had my breakthrough experience, because I had difficulties breathing through my nose. I even had a surgery on the wall in the nose. I had a wall deviation, and this wall was corrected. It's like you have this blown up face and blue eyes because everything is hurting. So I even had a surgery, and still after the surgery, I considered myself, I can't really breathe intensively through the nose. And everybody who knows that meditation, it starts with as intensive as possible, chaotically breathe through your nose. And that is how the meditation started. I was in this room, the meditation started, I got the explanation, and then basically we went for it. And that was the best thing whatever could have happened to me.
Wow.
Possibly somebody says that's respectless and careless, because for me it was the best thing that I was not cared about, because I really jumped into that meditation. I had the experience of I could breathe intensive through my nose, and I instantly fell in love with that meditation. And that was the beginning of the journey to actually free energy, because before I was a lot of sick. I had a lot of sickness time laying in bed, and through that energy flow in my body, I wasn't sick anymore.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. And you just left Austria and created a new home, a practice from scratch. So, what motivated you to that leap, and what did you discover about yourself along the way?
Well, it started actually after I started my breathing training. What really shifted insights, perspectives, it changed my entire being, realizing that, imagine you think things are true, and you start something and you realize what you believe is not necessarily how you thought it is. So I created a life, and through breathing, I realized one example. Most people think they are happy to go on vacation. When I started breathing, it occurred to me that my daily life became so good that I didn't live to go on vacation.
Yes.
So just as an example, that changed in my life. I built a huge house in Austria, and at one point I felt this house is more a burden rather than a relaxed space to live. So I started actually releasing my possessions. I didn't need the house anymore. I enjoyed the house, but it was not like what it was before. The house was like a status symbol. I was in the management. I was building a huge house, totally unpractical. And when I started breathing, I started releasing all the things which stood for something, but which I realized I don't really stand behind anymore. So I started releasing that I need to own the house. I was married there. We had kids together. And basically, over time, my wife stayed in this need of going to vacation. And I went to vacation with her to make her a favor.
Yeah.
But I started going against my desires. And actually, that was our separation, where
Mhm.
I realized my life changed and she kept holding on what was her life, and that was okay. That just happens when one is moving and the other one is also moving but holding on. And I didn't want to force her, and she didn't want to hold me back. And basically, that was our separation, which
Mhm.
occurred in 2010. And I met a new woman, and she was from the Balkan, from Dubrovnik. And well, the journey just started. That we went towards nature, we went towards less regulation.
Mhm.
European Union is very regulated. Even
Mhm.
cucumbers are regulated. Really everything is regulated. And when I started breathing, it's more about listening to the current moment, to the intuition. What is it what you really like? What's kind of the opposite of regulation? And that really led me to other countries. We moved to Serbia. We were looking for a place with spring water, sunrise, sunset all day. And we found a land here, and we decided instantly that we buy this land, we build a wooden house, we created a new space. I was working here, I left breathwork behind. And actually, that guided me to that in 2018, living here in Serbia, I was invited by universe to breathe with people. And that was actually the start of the new journey.
Wow. I mean, courageous doesn't it's even more than courageous. It's really having that uproot your life, start afresh, whole new direction, and that's absolutely wonderful. Because what you do now is like natural conscious breathing. So, how would you describe natural conscious breathing to someone who has never tried it before? And what makes it different from other breathing practices? Because there are a lot, aren't there? And where you are now, it sounds beautiful, like spring water, the sunshine, beautiful place to be. And what better to do something like this there?
Well, thank you for these questions, which really connect my
Mm,
journey in a
mm,
beautiful way. That means thank you for your listening and for your guidance, which makes it really easier for me to to dive in, because there
mm,
is so many things happened. I actually don't want to stay too long, otherwise we don't go on the journey. So thank
mm.
you for that. I want to acknowledge that
Thank
uh,
you.
on 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 this conversation. I'm trained in pretty all common breathing practices, which are hooked to techniques or how to do that.
Mhm,
So breath work, I would describe as something what is, you need to know, you need to follow a certain procedure. And some of the procedures are very clear and very rigid, actually. You must follow that procedure, even in terms of sequence of music in certain practices. So every breath work practice is pretty clear, following a kind of method. What happened in 2018? I was in nature. I was at home. I was building a home. My youngest son was born. I had no connection to people to breathe. And I had this calling to breathe with people. And I just started to work online, making courses.
mhm,
And I was a kind of intrigued about how I felt online directly in my body. And because of that experience, and I felt this calling to breathe with people, I thought, okay, that's gonna be online.
mhm,
But how to do that? Because I wouldn't do any breathwork practice online.
mhm,
Every breathwork practice is usually live in a live space, in a room, where as a facilitator, I can support, I can engage, I can even interrupt. Online, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I had a conversation with universe and said, okay, how are I gonna do that? And I even reached out to the breathing world to find out if somebody's doing that. I wanted to ask somebody, how can you do online breathing? And I literally didn't find anybody. So I had a conversation with universe and said, so how am I gonna do that? And I got the answer. Think about it. Find it out. So I sat down and thought about what does it take to work, breathe in a responsible way with people. And I came to a very clear concept what needs to be. For instance, when we are online here right now, your connection or my connection could be gone any moment.
Yeah.
In terms of breathing, it means for me, you need to be in a safe place all the time. You never can be in a place where you go somewhere where you need me. For instance, that was one of my thoughts. That needs to be guaranteed that everyone who is in a breathing space online is safe. You can continue on your own at any moment, which is out of my control.
Yeah.
It can be internet, it can be your computer, it can be electricity. We don't know. You need to be any moment able to get up and go away because I cannot protect your space. So this was one of the ingredients in the direction which I was looking. What is necessary that I can breathe with you, that you can feel comfortable about breathing online with you being there and me being here. And I found a receipt, and it's the natural conscious breath. So when I support you by discovering, you're actually right now in the most dangerous place because you're not naturally breathing. So anything what I can guide you into being more natural creates more inner safety within you. That is what natural conscious breathing does. It creates the connection within you in a natural way without me doing something with you. I guide you in a special way where you actually find more connection to your natural breath. And with that, the resource of inner safety is strengthened.
Wow. That's absolutely interesting because, we just take breathing for granted. It's something we do because if we don't, we won't be alive. But to have a safe, breath, that's really interesting. So, how do you create a safe space where people can explore their breath exactly as it is?
Well, first of all, people are informed that it's online. They're informed. I have a weekly Q&A. I have a brand new web page. I have to tell you because you don't know. I have a brand new website which just got finished. The German version is still under it gets refined,
Yeah.
but the English version is finished. So, and there is a possibility to visit a Q&A, a weekly Q&A, as often as you like. So you can come and have a conversation, ask all questions before you start. I think that is the most important thing, that you create the space for yourself, that you say, I asked all my questions and I'm ready. And that readiness can be after many questions, or just take me as an example. I heard about this dynamic meditation. I didn't ask any question, but that is me. So people can come to the Q&A as often as necessary, as often they like, or they don't need to come to the Q&A at all. When they feel I am drawn to it, you can sign up and I promise you there is a safe space. But in the first place, the safe space needs to come from within you. And I create a Q&A, a possibility to have this conversation. And this is not a written format. This is like a personal 1 hour Q&A every week. So I think that is important, to have a connection. And this is depending on the person. Some people need more resources of preparation and other people need less. And this is not like the same thing for everybody. And that's the same thing in the breathing. With the guidance, some people need to go more into activation and some people need to go more into gentleness. And this breathing style creates for every single person individually the space which you need right now. And I would say that's the biggest difference to any breathing practice I experienced, which guides the group into a more activating, not to say very evocative, strong way of breathing, or the entire group is going into a gentle music, calming down. It creates a space, and that is this good. That's the advantage of online, because everyone is in a personal, private space. And when you're in one room, of course, if somebody is more emotional, that influences everybody in the group. When you are at home, you literally have your bubble, you have your space. Everybody's muted. So no voice from somebody having possibly a more intensive, natural, intensive experience doesn't necessarily push somebody who is in a more calm experience. So online, for that topic, for this way of breathing, is the ultimate solution.
Wow, that's just amazing. And I really see how that works, online even better.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Gosh, yeah. Because you speak about taking one conscious breath with all humanity. Can you describe what that feels like and what it can do for a person or even for the community?
Let me share briefly that I received the vision to take a conscious breath with all humanity in a mastermind,
Mm-hmm.
which is a space where our subconscious minds connect. It's a mastermind principle, uh, which Napoleon Hill discovered. So the mastermind is a special place where it's not about thinking, it's more about being. And in such a space, I received the vision to take one conscious breath with all humanity. And I would like to refer shortly, briefly back to Mumbai, to my journey, why I needed to go there, because that was about 1.5 years after I received the vision. And to be honest, when I received the vision, I didn't know what to do with that. I had no idea how should I do that with the languages, with how to breathe with somebody who is deaf, how to breathe with a baby, how to breathe with somebody who doesn't want. So literally for 1.5 years, I didn't even think about it. And when I came to Mumbai, I had a major breakthrough experience where I actually had an ignition moment to speak about the vision, and people were openly listening and acknowledging the vision, the idea, because when we take a conscious breath in a natural way, we connect to our being, how we came to the world. And just have the picture. Everyone is born, and in that moment, nobody can move, nobody can walk, nobody can talk. So in this state, we are equal. The baby comes out and is hardly formed, even socially. Of course, you were in your mom's belly and you possibly had a bit more peaceful or less peaceful, but basically there was no outside experience outside of mom. You still had the experience, mom protects you and you're safe. And even that experience is the same for every newborn baby. And taking this conscious breath in a natural way connects us to this moment in time. And just imagine when people connect to that state of being together, it creates a we are the same.
Yeah.
There is no difference. You have the money possibly of your dad, but you don't even have a concept of money. So in that moment, you are simply feeling each other. You're just connected for no reason but being. And to that we return when we take this conscious breath as a group. And when that occurs for humanity, literally any difference is vanished.
And that's really like experiencing shifting from actively doing to simply just being.
Yes, yes,
It really is. So,
yes.
looking back at your journey from engineering to father to breath facilitator, what are some of the most important lessons you've learned about life, presence, and connection, Wolfgang?
I had an interesting experience about 3 years ago with a group, with a coach, and she guided us through the question of the why.
Mm.
Why are we doing what we are doing? And I had an enlightening experience. I was lucky in the breathing training I went through 2002, 2003. We got a catalog of questions. We were asked to go back to our parents and ask about our pregnancy, birth, and after birth time. Basically, ask your parents, how was your relationship? How was our financial situation? Were you happy? Was it safe? A catalog of questions we just never ask.
Yeah.
And go to your father and go to your mom and ask them these questions. And I realized asking these questions some significant things.
Mm.
I was almost aborted while
Wow.
my mom was pregnant with me. I was a blue baby when I was born.
Gosh.
Just imagine the navel cord around your neck and you can't breathe when you come out.
Mm.
In the moment when actually the first breath should happen, you're struggling. And a couple of weeks after my birth, I had a lung infection, which also affected my breathing. So while this why, I connected to these three incidences and I realized, wow, I'm possibly one of the most embracing people embracing the breath by nature because there was three incidences which
Mm.
tried, it didn't manage, but it tried to take away my life breath. And simply that is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I just realized it 3 years ago by having all the answers. And what I realized, and I heard stories from people going through the journey, life makes sense from birth until today. We just simply might not understand or connected the dots yet. Life is a journey, from my perspective, which is designed from the beginning, which is a journey which is put into our even conception, possibly before. So our life makes sense and prepares us for a big event, which might be giving birth and being a mother. That's huge.
Mm.
I think we shouldn't discount anything because something else looks bigger. Taking a conscious breath with all humanity is a lot of people, but the job is the same as being a good dad, a good mother. So I'm not saying in terms of amount what a vision, a life purpose should look like, but it's certainly valuable to ask myself the question why I am here. What is my life purpose?
Wow. Gosh, never really thought about it like that at all. You've just opened my mind. That's absolutely mind blowing. And oh my gosh, I can totally understand why you are doing what you are doing.
And because
Absolutely.
of that, it's not courageous at all
Mm, mm,
because I didn't do anything. And in
mm,
one moment, I had also Mumbai was not courageous because I knew I had to go there.
mm,
I had a moment where I could have turned around and go home, and there was a reason why I didn't do it.
yeah.
So it was the more comfortable thing to go further
Mm,
through the journey to catch the flight without money being in Mumbai. But it was, from outside, it looks like, wow, that's a big thing. For me, it
mm,
was exactly the thing I needed to do, and there was no option.
mm.
Maybe
Yeah.
one thing I would like to share with you and the audience, which occurred for me along the journey, and that might be provocative, but I say it anyway. There is no such thing as decision. When we know our path, it doesn't matter if there is another path.
Mm,
If there is 10 other paths and you know exactly where to go, there is not even a question to go left
mm,
or right. When you know your path, when you know your North Star, when you know your life purpose, when you know where you're going to, it doesn't matter that there is a million other options. And I think the life purpose is one of the biggest things we can discover for us because life gets very simple, crystal
mm.
clear. And in that moment, you know what to do.
Definitely. Wow. Wow. Gosh, I knew this is going to be an incredible conversation, but how incredible, I didn't know. So, if there was one key takeaway you want every listener to walk away with today, what would that be, Wolfgang?
Aim for your natural conscious breath.
I love that. Yeah. So, you talked about your website. Where can the listeners find you online, Wolfgang?
Is there a possibility to post it here with this?
Yes,
With this, yes.
absolutely. I
I
will
would
put
like
in
to
the
post it
share notes.
here. Well, I'm on Facebook and
Mm,
I have this website, but basically the website, I like to come back to the simple tools like email
yes.
and a web page, where is no influence from AI and reels, Facebook,
Mm,
Instagram. It's very disturbing. For me, I discover simplicity. I like all the possibilities, but it turns frequently out that I start somewhere to do something and I didn't do that and I come out entirely somewhere different, which is possibly inspiring and eye-opening, but
mhm,
it's also disturbing. So I would like to offer my email and my webpage here with this beautiful conversation today. And if people like to reach out, send me a message or go
yeah.
to website and come to the Q&A. It's for free. The Q&A is free of cost. Just go to the page and register to the Q&A and we have a personal conversation.
And all the links will be in the show notes. So please do go ahead, do connect with Wolfgang and check out the website, check out the Q&A. Yeah.
Q&A. Yeah, it's a conversation where
Yes.
you can ask any question. And I take time for any question. We have an hour, and if it's not enough time, we have another hour the next week, and people can come back until they heard the answers, which
Mm,
actually creates the rapport, which is necessary. It is
mm.
necessary. And I encourage everyone not to jump over a border which they don't feel comfortable with.
Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. I didn't know, and it was really a more than comfortable, beautiful red line through the conversation. And again, I want to acknowledge you for that. This I had a lot of podcasts, and there is differences. So
Mm.
thank you for this beautiful space which you create, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. The conversation has been so rich. It's absolutely beautiful to be with you today. I'd like to thank you for sharing your incredible journey and your insights today. And I know it will make a big difference to a lot of people, to all the listeners. I really want to acknowledge you for that, Wolfgang Steiner.
Thank
I
you.
love you and thank you.
Thank you.
So we are all about Create the Courage to be Fearless podcast here. What is your definition of courage?
Courage is when you do something and you don't even realize it's courageous. Courage is outside of you, for the people who observe you.